I can't tell if I look crazy or if I look okay. So we're just going to roll with it, right? We're going to trust the process. I am about to go to sleep, so that is why I am in PJs. I wanted to get this podcast out there tonight because honestly, I'm in the mood. It's like driving me right now. So I want to make sure now that I am feeling it is when I am sharing it. Um, Welcome back to the Heartwork podcast. And if you're new here, thank you so much for finding your way. I am doing my best every day to try and share a little piece of advice or something that I learned throughout my 20s as I continue to go through my journey and how I'm getting through tough situations or moments in my life, and just putting it out there in a podcast to see if anybody else can resonate and take something from it. So, today's episode is going to be taking imperfect action. I have a very extensive note taking for this podcast. The two affirmations we're going to start off with is going to be I put action behind my goals every single day. Repeat that 3 times. The next one is I have a fierce commitment to my goals, which moves me forward. So, taking imperfect action. I wanted to talk about this because most of us who are still figuring ourselves out are still trying to find our career or our purpose in this world. Sometimes we're afraid to take the first step because we don't know how to. We don't know what is the right first step. But just taking an imperfect step towards whatever it is you set your mind to is what will get you to make it a perfect action. You know what I mean? When I first started the gym, which is the first bulletin point that I have here, starting the gym and having shitty form. Oh my gosh, I was so afraid to go into the gym because there's so many badass motherfuckers who have been there for an insane amount of years already, hustling, working hard, training hard. And it's scary because you walk in there, and for me, I was so in my head like, I'm so fragile. I don't have the body for it. I walk in there and I don't feel like a part of it. Um, so it was hard for me to want to take that first step. I was thinking, like, what if they're all staring at me and my form is shitty and they're laughing in their head, like, this girl doesn't even know what she's doing. But the thing I failed to realize when starting the gym was that one, everybody is doing their own thing. So they're not really paying attention to whatever you're doing. Two, they started from the bottom. It wasn't like they were there and that they already had a fit body. Three, if anything, they are so glad that a new person is making a change in their life the same way they did, which is exactly what you want. You want that support. We just don't see that support. Everyone's there doing their own thing, but I want you to look at it as everyone is there for the same reason. We are all trying to be better every day. We are all trying to chase some sort of success from finding a great routine in the gym and being fit and staying healthy. When I first started the gym, it was awful. I didn't know anything. I had to buy a $50 app, fitness app program. And it asked you for like pictures of your before and afters, keeping a track of your weight, keeping track of your like everyday meals and all that shit. But I didn't do any of that. I was just starting. Like, I just wanted to go in there and kind of figure out how to even lift the weight. What was a negative? What's a positive movement? All these things that never crossed my mind before. And after a little while, after going in and starting off with the treadmill and doing the 12-3-30, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but Lauren Geraldo had created it. And it's basically 12 incline, 3 miles per hour for 30 minutes. And let me tell you, that shit kicked my ass the first few times. But it also, towards the end, I noticed it gave me that boost of energy to want and lift the weight. Because in the beginning, I wasn't lifting the weight. So then, as soon as I became fearless, I should say, in the gym and decided, you know what, I'm gonna lift these weights. I don't know if I'm gonna have a shitty form or not. I don't know if it's gonna come out right, but I'm gonna figure this shit out. And as I kept showing up for myself at the gym and doing this workout, I realized, you know what it is? As I made that first imperfect move, imperfect action, as I took imperfect action, it started to make more sense. Mind to body connection with all the movements I made, improving my form, improving my health, improving my body strength, um, being able to add more weight, being able to ask people around me, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, how many reps should I do? And then when should I start adding weight? What up to what reps should I start feeling like I can add weight? And the app was fantastic. It was called Good Fitness. I still have it. And it basically gives you all of the information you need at home workouts. Um, Recently, like I've been on this thing where I want to figure out how many meals I should have and how many calories I should have a day. It offers that for that calculator for it. It also has a fitness for being in the gym. It has a fitness routine for moms who just gave birth and want to lose the mommy pooch. It has all these other things like tracking your calories, meals that you can make, the stuff that we eat at Starbucks. It tells you like all the calories and what you should replace certain things with. It is a fantastic app. So if you want to go after that one as your first starter for the gym, I suggest it. It's called Good Fitness. Um, Moving forward from the gym, another thing is wanting to have a perfect routine. And currently, I am still in the lab trying to figure that out, mixing my potions, seeing what works for me, you know? I'm attempting different ways to build a routine that fits me. And it all started as well with the gym. After a year of going to the gym, I realized, I'm waking up at 10 a.m and I'm not really happy because I feel like I should be getting up at 7 a.m. I kept watching podcasts as I got more in tune with myself, and I wanted to learn more and more about myself and what people are out there saying about fitness and how they're staying on top of their routine and their health and their body. Um, and all these things started to intrigue me, so I started watching podcasts, and one of them was a mindset mentor on Spotify, and I wanted a millionaire mindset. I believe that I am made to be successful. I am made to be a millionaire. And if I don't chase that, then I will never get there. And I need to know if I can get there. So, what I did is I fixed my routine. I had to have a millionaire mindset. Granted, it is not perfect, but it is me chasing that perfection. It's me taking an imperfect action towards getting that perfect routine. So I started waking up around 7:30 right now, 7 o'clock. Sometimes I wake up at 5 when I go to bed early. Sometimes I wake up at 6. It all really depends on the balance that I have with work. Sometimes I have awful days at work, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But that is to move on to that point before I get to the work situation. Um, Sometimes there's people who don't have a balance and want one. I know I sure as hell do not have a balance all the way. I have sort of a balance, but I am constantly feeling tired because of the amount of hours that I put into my job. And currently, I am working what it feels like doubles because I am getting up early, going to the gym, journaling, meditating, making sure that I fuel myself and then go on with my day at 11:30 to go to the real estate office, make some calls, stay on top of what I want to accomplish for real estate. And then from there, I go to the restaurant. I'm a server from like 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. on certain days, and on other days I'm a server for 12 hours from 10:30 to 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, depending on how much they want to drain me. And that's how I want to get into it. So work becomes very stressful sometimes, and you find yourself being burnt out. Work will always throw stress your way, but if I keep a strong mind and let it fuel me rather than stress me, I can find time when I'm not there to unwind and figure out a way to make a balance between overstressing myself over work and being able to find time for the things that bring peace and relaxation to my life. So that is a note that I had put into this podcast episode because I had a stressful day on this past Friday where working in the restaurant industry, I'm up all day on Friday from 10 o'clock to 10 p.m. And sometimes I like to go to the gym in the morning. Granted, that day I did not go, but I was feeling already exhausted from the day before, and I woke up, went into my shift. Usually, when shifts at a restaurant are super dead, you get like even lazier, like you get more tired. So I started reading. I went on break. I started reading. I felt the tiredness, but I'm reading the David Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me. So I dead ass feel like this man is motivating and inspiring to the point where I think I'm not going to sleep right now. I'm not going to fall asleep reading this book. I need to stay up. If David Goggins can run 100 fucking miles under 24 hours, I can fucking stay up for this 12-hour shift. So I'm drained. Um, and the night shift, I realized they were going to sit me last. They were going to give me the last table at 9 o'clock, and it was going to be a nine top. I did not get the table, but I felt like I got very overwhelmed because there's no real respect for people who have been there all day. There's no set rules, or there's a lack of leadership to when it comes to making sure that people aren't burnt out, especially those that work there full shifts in a day. And then there's people who come in at 4 o'clock and get to clock out by 9 p.m. and really don't do any side work. And I started to get really frustrated with management. I started to get really frustrated with the host. I blew up, and I was so hurt. I was so annoyed. I emotionally got so riled up that I started crying. And I went outside and I'm thinking to myself, I need to finish this shift because there's no way in hell that I'm going to go home and be a baby about this. This is just teaching me something. This job has continuously put me to the test. And yes, there's a lack of leadership. Yes, there's a lack of discipline. Some people there are enabled, they're complacent with their job, but I'm not. I'm not complacent here. I'm here to get my money and leave. And I know there's a one-way ticket out of there, and it's my real estate job. And that's why I wake up every single day and choose to have a millionaire mindset, regardless of how much they want to burn me out in this building. And after I told myself that, I wiped my tears away. I'm getting through the shift, just working my ass off so I can go home. Um, and even now, when I thought about it, when I was home, I said, I'm very grateful for that job, regardless of the lack of discipline, the lack of leadership, and all the things that they do to burn certain people out. I get it. I'm a hard worker. I show my work ethic every single day through and through. I make sure that they know I'm a good server. I make sure that they know that I'm not going to leave and clock out at 9 p.m. and not get some side work done and pay my dues with the rest of the servers because we all pull tips. So, yeah, I am just grateful, and I had to switch the mindset. I didn't want to complain. I didn't want to stay stuck in that mindset of, ugh, why am I still here? Why are they doing this to me? Like, no, I couldn't victimize myself. I didn't want to victimize myself. I had to become my own teacher and teach myself that this is temporary, and this is only making your character become stronger. This is only building more work ethic. This is building a stronger mind, a calloused mind, the way that David Goggins likes to put it. It's building a tougher mental state. Um, so yeah, that's another way of me explaining the imperfect action that I take towards making a balance. And even though it is imperfect yet, I'm learning that it doesn't matter what kind of first step I take as long as I'm taking that first step, that imperfect step, you know? It will eventually end up being perfect one day. Whether my job is keeping me there till 11 or 12 o'clock or 9 p.m., I need to make sure that I take that imperfect action regardless of that shitty shift that I have the night before to still want to wake up and chase the the future, chase the mindset that I want to one day be able to have, and it won't be, it'll just be second nature to wake up at 6 a.m. It'll just be second nature to go to the gym. It'll just be second nature to not allow the laziness to kick in. Um, Another thing, you want to stop a bad habit. For me, it was smoking. I couldn't go cold turkey and cut it. I did it little by little. I realized how it was affecting me. I would smoke at night and wake up feeling groggy. I had no motivation. I smoked throughout my day and I had no motivation as well. I went back into the lab again and I tested it out by not smoking one morning and become self-aware, becoming conscious of how I felt and how it affected my work ethic. So that was another point I put in here. And to go a little bit more further into detail, I don't blame anybody else for smoking. I'm not judgmental towards people who smoke. I will still smoke in occasional times, especially when it's like socializing events or stuff like that. But I've learned that that is not part of my routine anymore. I do not want to stop what I'm building. I do not want to hold back from becoming my highest and best version of myself. And the way that I had to make sure I didn't let anything get in the way was stopping a bad habit. And when I tell you guys it was bad, it was absolutely horrendous. It was horrible. I would consistently spend my money, which is one thing that I do not like, especially right now. I don't speak on it a lot, but since I am being vulnerable on camera and on this podcast, I do go through financial instability. I find myself living sometimes paycheck to paycheck, depending on how many hours I'm putting in. Because granted, I want to sacrifice some time from the restaurant in order to apply it to my real estate, to have open houses, to make calls, to dedicate the weekend to that. And weekends are the days that we all know, if you're in the restaurant industry, service is very very good on weekends. So I've cut my checks short, and the times that I do feel like I can make up for that money, or that I have to make up for that money, I will go in and work on the weekend. um, and when I don't, I make sure that I budget myself correctly. So this is a habit I needed to stop in order for me to either spend those 30, $40, $50 on gas, on food, on, if I want to go out with a friend and have brunch, spend it on that. But I needed to stop that bad habit because it was fucking up my routine. It was fucking up my mental health. It was fucking up everything that I was constantly working hard for. It was like taking 5 steps forward and 3 steps back by smoking. I noticed that when I would come home after a long shift, I would want to smoke. And then I would go to bed and I wouldn't want to wake up at 7. I'd snooze my alarm and wake up at like 10 or 11. Not part of what I want to do. Not part of my routine, not part of my mindset. So it took a while for me to cut it out, honestly. It took a while for me to want to come home and not do it. It took me being broke one weekend or one week to realize, you know what? I only have like $11 in my bank account. And it's a $10 joint if I go down, to Jefferson and go into that smoke shop and say, hey, into the dispensary, and I say, hey, can I get that $10 joint? But I said no. I might need those $10 for gas. I might need those $10 for food. I might need those $10 for whatever comes my way this week. So I need to make sure I have money, even if it's $10. So I cut it out. I stopped buying weed. And then I was enabled by my friends. And they didn't know it at the time, but they were the ones giving me free joints, or joints that we would smoke and we wouldn't finish. And I would come home and still do it. And then I knew I was becoming very self-aware of how much this was affecting me. I was conscious of the effects it was having on me, and yet I still did it. Um, Once I stopped talking to that friend that I kept constantly smoking with, there was nobody to enable that. There was nobody to hand me over the, last bits of the fucking joint that we had just smoked, the nugs, the little free nugs that I would get from her. It was just a matter of me facing my truth and saying, I am not in a position to be smoking or to be buying weed right now because one, I am financially unstable, living paycheck to paycheck, and I need to make sure I'm budgeting correctly to all the expenses that I want because I'm living a life that I am setting up myself for to be successful. I'm living a lifestyle that I want to one day not worry about when it comes to finances. I'm putting myself in that position already, in that experience, in that outcome, and I need to step into it and actually budget correctly and live it correctly to finally be there one day and have that effect and manifest it. So I stopped smoking. I stopped smoking throughout the day as well. Before I was smoking at night, I was also smoking in the mornings before I went to my shift. I would get there and I would notice that I was one hungry all morning. And that's stopping me from fulfilling the body goals that I have. Wanting to have a toned stomach, wanting to have a nicer butt, wanting to have the right calories or right carbs in my body. I was just eating junk food. I was eating ice cream. I was eating anything I found in that restaurant. And I was wasting money outside of the restaurant buying food, buying bagels, buying burritos, buying anything and everything I could get my hands on. Um, and I didn't like that. I knew I didn't like that because then that food in turn would make me tired. And even when I didn't smoke, it would still make me tired. So I didn't like it. I had to stop smoking in the mornings before my shift, and I realized like, the only reason I smoked was because I was annoyed that I had to go in and work a double. And I was making myself more miserable because I was already tired and sleepy from the food I was having, from the joint that I had just smoked, or from the bong hit that I had just taken. Even if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you'll see I have a morning romanticize my mornings by hitting the bong. That completely changed. That is no longer part of my routine. I don't do that to myself. I don't know. Some people weed fuels them before the gym. I was noticing it wasn't fueling me. I was noticing that there was times where I was having a great time journaling and being high, and then another time I would smoke and I would have an awful time concentrating on meditating or journaling while being high. So I had to change some things, and now I just do it when I socialize, and I kind of like it better because I had a tolerance before, and I was smoking several times to get high, and now I'm not. Now I'm just kind of like enjoying it when I'm with friends, enjoying it when I'm out socializing or at a party, and not making it a part of my daily routine where it's affecting my work ethic and everything that I want to accomplish. Another thing that I put here to take imperfect action for is if you're feeling lost starting a new job or a new career, feeling like you don't know anything and having that same feeling make you spiral into a feedback loop of hell, as Mark Manson from the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, that author had mentioned the feedback loop of hell, which is it's just like a way of you self-sabotaging into self-negative talk. So it's like, for example, I put here you getting into the mindset that, am I going to fail because I don't know what I'm doing? How will I succeed if I can't even pay attention to instructions the first time they are taught? Will I be good enough to be a real estate agent? This is applying it to me. Does this mean I can't retain information as quickly as I should? What if I get lost halfway through my career and I lose direction? What if I stop loving it? What if I get bored? What then? All these negative self comments and thoughts that you keep replying to yourself and answering to yourself, or not replying to yourself, but saying to yourself, repeating to yourself, it's a feedback loop of hell. It's self sabotaging. And if you're feeling lost, taking imperfect action is just getting lost in it, making sure that you maneuver through that. There's, this thing where they say, did I toss you in the water and have you figure out how to swim? Yes, that statement is true. Get in there, just throw yourself in there. You might not know, you might not figure it out, you might be bored, and then so what? You start something new, you figure out something new that you love. Or what if you actually don't get bored? What if you enjoy the being lost in it, getting so lost that you enjoy that you enjoy being put in uncomfortable positions to feel uncomfortable and then to still make it out learning. I am one of those people that learn by doing, by being put to the test. And at first, I get annoyed because it's like, I need your help. I need you to help me. I need you to give me a little hint at least. And sometimes that person might be like, no, I already taught you. And that's, it's in a way, I feel like that's like rude and an asshole move, but it also, I always just switch my mindset from being victim to being my own teacher and saying, if you're going to put me to the test in that way, although I feel like it's rude coming from you, I'm still going to figure it the fuck out, and I'm going to make sure that I use that to my advantage. And I thank you for not giving me that guidance, because it just taught me how to be stronger myself and not need the help eventually. um, so take imperfect action. Ask people around you, how do I do this? Don't be afraid to be vulnerable around these people. You are brand new to the career, to the job. If they're gonna make you like talk down on you or make you feel some type of way, be condescending, so what? You're just learning, you just started learning. You learn at a different pace. I definitely don't learn by watching. I visually can't remember and then do it months later, if especially if I'm not constantly practicing it, especially in real estate. I tried to make a book yesterday or today, and I didn't know how to make it, and I was struggling, and I was getting little to no help trying to figure it out. But that little push that they gave me, or that little advice that they gave me, the little hint to where I could get the information from, is where I was like, you know what? The lack of help that I'm getting right now, or the lack of guidance that I'm getting right now, I'm going to use it to my advantage. Instead of victimizing myself, I'm going to use this to my advantage and figure it the fuck out, because one day I won't need that help. I won't have to ask that for that help. I'll just be able to do it myself. Um, so just take that first step. If what I wrote here was, if what you do brings you joy, let the rest fall into place as you learn, as you take your first step, as you get through the uncomfortable emotions and situations that it brings. And, every first step isn't going to be perfect. That's why imperfect action is so important, because it's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to bring uncomfortable emotions. It's supposed to make you feel vulnerable and feel like weak, like you don't know anything, because you're learning, because you're pushing through barriers and comfort zones that you normally have in order to learn something new about yourself, in order to learn something new about the world, in order for you to build a calloused mind, as David Goggins would say. Another thing is, I took imperfect action by trying to fix my childhood trauma. Going to therapy was so hard. Um, it was something I never wanted to face, because I just felt like I don't want to talk to a stranger about my childhood upbringing and like how fucked up it was. And I don't want to admit to my wrongs. I was so selfish, I was so in such a comfort zone. I was a pussy, to be quite honest. I was a, I don't want to use that word. I was a child. I was childish. I was being immature about what I really needed to face. And my imperfect action was going to therapy, and I didn't know how to vocalize how I felt. I didn't know if my feelings were valid or not at the time. I didn't know if I was going to be judged. I didn't know if I was going to say the right things and eventually like have her understand my pain, or if she was going to understand my pain, even with the, imperfect mistakes or imperfect actions that I've taken before that. But I shared, and I opened up, and I was vulnerable, and I cried, and I'm still going to therapy. I'm still working on that. But it was that one imperfect action step that I took to figuring it out, to realizing what was bigger than me was me wanting to never be that old version of myself that I was in my marriage or even when my mom was alive, and how selfish or how little attention I dedicated to family. I was so infatuated with work, my relationship. I barely paid attention to other important things. And I barely knew who I was. I was always attached to a relationship. I was always attached to my job and making money and paying my bills. And there's nothing wrong with having a hard work ethic, but like I said, there was no balance. There was no family time. I would barely go to family events. So what I wrote here, I want to read it out loud. Taking imperfect action with going to therapy, having a fucked up childhood, growing up with a father that did not take good care of me emotionally, seeing fights at home, not having a good relationship to have an example for my own relationships that I once want to have with my significant other, all caused abandonment and rejection issues inside me. It's why a lot of my relationships have failed in the past, or attempted relationships have failed in the past. I took imperfect action by going to therapy, even though it may feel uncomfortable to speak to a total stranger in regards to your upbringing and the negative self talk you put yourself through. Once you start to become self aware of the issues your childhood trauma has caused, taking imperfect action by making a different choice, taking a different direction when something goes to shit is what is actually the beauty in it. Um, just taking that little first step to wanting to be better, to wanting to be different is beautiful, is rewarding. You should be proud of yourself for wanting to take that first step. That is usually super hard when it comes to being vulnerable with other people. If you begin to have a sour situation occur in your new relationship, don't just leave right away. Taking imperfect action uh, with a new person, with a significant other, is what leads you to fix that rejection, that abandonment issue. And this is kind of me talking to me right now because this is what I'm currently going through. I usually give up pretty easily. I don't take shit from people, but I started to realize, I keep coming across relationships in my life that keep giving me reasons or showing me that I have abandonment issues, that I have rejection issues, and I will never fix that if I don't stay still in this relationship and want to fix it, choose to fix it. So I'm not leaving. I want to fix things when things get sour with my significant other. It's that imperfect action that I'm taking in order for things to eventually work out, in order for things to eventually make sense. Granted, you shouldn't stay somewhere where it is not being watered or there's no growth and things just keep being the same exact thing. That is not helping you grow. But if the other person is receptive and they're very accepting of what you're saying and willing to change with you, then that is a healthy relationship to work in. That is a um, in a part of your life, in an environment that, even though there's hurdles and you know there's imperfectness, there is a way to make it out by taking imperfect action and fixing it. It won't happen right at, it won't happen right away, won't happen by the end of the night, and then tomorrow you're going to wake up and everything's going to be perfect. It's going to take some time, it's going to take some effort, it's going to take some love, some compassion, and some work, in yourself and in your significant other. And realize that most of the relationships that continue, if you're self-aware and conscious of what your issues are from your childhood trauma or from anything you've experienced in the past, if you start to notice a routine, not a routine, but like a a pattern in what you're going through with certain people, remember that they are a mirror of who you are and what you've been through, and they are going to reflect anything that you are internally, that you have been through and that you need to work on. Another thing that I put here was, don't shut down and say you'll be good regardless if they leave. Don't let the ego win, allow the ego to come in healthy ways but not in negative ways. So don't, if you are loving, if you love somebody and you're trying to work through things with somebody and they're a mirror of you and you can see how they're projecting certain issues, or how they're a mirror of what the issues that you're trying to work on, don't push them away. Don't, if they're willing to work with you, don't push them away. Learn to put your ego aside and to let them in, because they're also teaching you something about yourself the same way you're teaching them about themselves. um what else did I put here? Allow yourself to be vulnerable, to take responsibility of how you may have made that person feel, even if it's not what you intended to make them feel like. Show empathy, show gratitude for allowing them to feel comfortable enough to tell you, and vice versa. And speak through the toughness of that conversation. The whole point of any relationship you have, look at it as you healing yourself, you healing your inner child. You're doing this more for you than for them. You're doing this for them too, because you obviously want to have them in your life, but you're trying to fix most of these issues because they're issues within yourself that you need to fix, that you need to work on, that you want to put behind you, that no longer serve you. By taking imperfect action, it's like feeling out and reaching out for that outcome, feeling that emotion of the experience you want to create. It will create that experience itself. It will manifest it. It will be your new reality. You just have to feel the outcome instead of having a cause and effect, like, if I go to therapy, then I'll be okay. No, I am going to be okay because I'm going to go to therapy. I am going to be okay one day. My self care routine is going to be so perfect because I am already doing all these imperfect things, imperfect action. I'm taking imperfect action because I already feel myself, my highest self, be coming into fruition. I am already stepping into that feeling. And in turn, you are going to have that outcome, that effect. It will just come. If you feel abundance around you, abundance will come. If you feel gratitude around you, everything else, the love will come. Everything else around you will start to feel like love, will start to feel like you're getting everything you're asking for, because you're already living in gratitude. You're already living in abundance. You're already loving, self loving yourself. So you're attracting that partner that is going to love you, that is going to show you that same love you're showing yourself. So you have to step into that outcome, that feeling of the what you're looking for, instead of waiting there to for that, when you're like, oh well, if I work 10 times harder I'll have that money. No, live in abundance. Money is around me. Money finds its way to me because I am working hard, because I'm doing all these things. I'm making this podcast because I'm finding ways to be of service to other people, because I'm finding ways to have passive income. I'm going out of my way to do real estate because I know that abundance is already inside me. I'm already living in abundance, and it's just going to find its way to me. I don't have to go out looking for it. It's just already here with me. Um when you are already living in that moment, in that mindset, in that feeling, you're already taking action. You are already mindfully living it. It feels like a mirror itself in your external world. It will mirror itself in your external world. So take imperfect action. That's all I have for today. That's all I have for tonight, my friends. Happy Sunday night. Happy Monday. Um, happy the rest of your week. Take imperfect action, my friend. Take the first step. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You will get there. Even if you're starting a new language, to bring it out. In when I first came here, the imperfect action I had, that I knew I was still going out of my way to learn English, was by having a morning announcement and not knowing a single fucking word I was reading, but I was practicing it every day at home. And I was taking imperfect action and asking my teacher, how do I say this? How do I say that? Until it finally stuck. And you would think I was born here because of how great my English is, but I wasn't. English is my second language. Now my first, I guess, because I grew up here and I speak very fluently more English than Spanish, but I practice my Spanish every day. I take imperfect action every day to learn something new in Spanish, especially when it comes to real estate. Learning terms in Spanish in regards to real estate because I want to help my Spanish community in real estate as well. So every day I'm taking imperfect action one way or another. And I want you to do the same thing for your life, for yourself, especially if you're becoming self aware of the things that you want to change. Take imperfect action. Have a great day and thank you so much for watching. Oh, and before we finish that podcast, my 2 points of gratitude. I am grateful for this life. I am grateful for my home, my lifestyle. I am grateful for my finances. It doesn't matter what it looks like right now because I live in abundance already. It never fails to be there. Money never fails to be there, and it's just the fact that I am grateful for being able to sustain myself no matter how many hardships I go through, no matter what it looks like right now for me. Um, I am very grateful for money. I am very grateful for my financial stability, for being able to have responsibilities that I'm taking care of, being responsible and not allowing myself to get into bad habits and wasting my money on the wrong things. Because me having that self discipline has allowed me to never miss a payment, never fail to pay something. Um, it's just money has always been there for me, and I am very grateful for it. I'm very grateful that I'm making it out by myself without the help of a parental figure or guidance from the government or anything like that. And not to say that if some people out there have to do that, they have to do that. That's their way of being able to stay financially stable and taking care of their responsibilities. But I am grateful that the two jobs that I have and that the restaurant, regardless of whatever happens there and how annoyed I can get with staying late, it is just adding to the money that I need, the money that I deserve, the money that needs to be in my life. And that gets me to live the lifestyle that I have and have my car and have gas and have food and have anything and everything that I need and still be able to have a little fun here and there. So, thank you, universe. Thank you guys for watching. And I hope that this podcast finds you um, whenever you need it and you are able to take something from it.